An important game for these teams to determine who had what it take to turn around the rest of the season. And in the end, Core are going to impress and they're going to take the series 2-0. Ash, this is a team that, looking back to the ups and downs that they've had throughout Challengers, they looked really, really good for today. And if that's going to be a Core that we see more of going forward, I'm excited about the team.
Yeah, me too. I think that we saw really great improvements. Their macro looked really good. They were very on point and synergized today as well with their spacing, going for those trades and whatnot. And I think that the supportive utility out of both Logan and Darkus was just so consistent in assisting in a lot of those duels.
And I think even beyond that, though, we can definitely see improvements in terms of like their crossfire establishing on defense, the way they're approaching it, their timing on crunches, like their re-clears. Like there's just so many layers of Core's gameplay that seems to be rapidly improving. And I don't really know what has happened in the server time. I don't know what they're talking about during practice, but something has clicked for this roster, and you can see so many opportunities for every single player on this team to shine, and it feels like they're all capitalizing in their roles.
That's an exciting time then for Core, because now finding themselves at a 2-2, it's not too late for them to start, putting together these wins, be able to show us what they're capable of. And on the opposing end, for Ambrosia, even though we did get to see some good moments coming out, it just seemed Core was a step ahead, Roy, in a lot of these fights. Even on that first map, being able to kind of read these tendencies, and here being able to punish. And that's just a tough draw for Ambrosia.
Yeah, I think overall, it really did feel like Core was just a slightly more prepared team. Yes, there's a lot of late round situations that should have gone Ambrosia's way. This should have been a closer match. But at the end of the day, the teams that are capitalizing off these moments, the heroes that pop up during these situations, they're the ones that are going to lead their team to victory. And it really felt like Core was just the better individual form and better overall.
Yeah, and you even like look back to a lot of those post plant situations that are in that initial first half. And that has kind of been the story for Ambrosia, the last few maps that we've seen out of them, just struggling a little bit with that post plant, how they want to set up in those post plants as far as crossfires or even just like the utility usage coming out from them. And I think Core has done really well in these last two maps on Pearl and on Haven to dismantle a lot of those setups as well and just be able to kind of take advantage of those gaps that Ambrosia were leaving.
And looking like at the players as well, I mean, for Core, everyone really did got to like show off here, Roy.
Yep.
And Timotino's been someone that we've talked about a lot, but someone who didn't need to show up more than he did, because everyone else, like everyone was on their A game.
Yeah, and you can even just tell by the when you're watching Core, you kind of see their philosophy, right? They're constantly setting up Timo for the early fights, but that's not really their win condition. Like, yeah, if he gets a multi frag, great. But overall, they're just pushing and pulling and waiting for people to walk into Snarly, walk into Nerve, and just trying to out macro these teams constantly. And I think that's really their bread and butter. It's this manipulation. It's this sort of push and pull and sort of just kind of like deter people away from their game plan and into their own sort of style. And it seems to be working pretty well.
Yeah, I love that you're calling out that they're setting up other players, because when we're looking at Snarly, I mean, Snarly Ash had a game.
Yeah, he looked insane on defense. Like he slowed down a little bit more on attack, but that's kind of expected because he is going to be playing that more like lurk role and wasn't really needed in a lot of those fights in that second half, but ended off the first half 18-4, which is what really padded their stats. He looked insane for this squad as far as being able to be such a solid anchor and even denying some of those opportunities up against Adder as well, who he was facing off against the lurks, but even playing a little bit of that defensive sided aggression with that push and pull that Roy was talking about, looking for some of that information based on his team's mid-rounding.
And I think this is like a perfect opportunity for Core to sort of take their place, right? Because we're entering a meta where like passive play just doesn't work anymore. Everyone's awareness of the game, everyone's sort of macro understanding of Valorant has just evolved so much at this point that really the only thing that can disrupt this flow are players that can just like be aggressive, disrupt plans, be chaotic, be sort of unpredictable with the way they're approaching it. And I think this level of proactivity that Core is showing is a massive key factor into why they look so good on their defense when other teams seem to be struggling.
And Snarly, I mean, popping off, but MVP of the match was Darkus. And Darkus is actually on the line now to talk a little bit of thoughts about the match. So let's head over to our post-match interview, get a little bit more. Hello, 2 for 2, back-to-back wins. Darkus, hello, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling great, honestly. After that game was really fun for us, really exciting.
I mean, you're talking about really fun. You're playing back-to-back days. What was it? Is the team just clicking more? It's just the great vibes. Like, what is making this Valorant so fun right now?
I think it was multiple things. I think like coming into it, we picked up a new duelist, right? And he's kind of new, so I think for him it was more nerves than anything. And then as soon as we kind of just pushed him more and said, "Hey, man, you're free to do whatever you want. This is your world, and we're just here to support it," he's been taking more space. He's been doing his job, and everyone's just feeling more confident around it.
That's great to hear because I feel like we're really being able to see the impact in that in the server. The wins yesterday and today. This is looking like a different core than we got to see in the first couple of weeks. And I want to know what's kind of happening behind the scenes as well to have such a drastic turnaround.
We're all like really honest with each other. Like our environment is really open to talking about stuff. So like whenever we want to do a play or we want to fix something, we're pausing, we're talking about it there. We're like, hey, let's do this instead. Let's work on this. Like we're all just trying to be on the same page about like the micro, like how we want to play the game. So that it kind of showed there. I mean, don't get me wrong, we had some shooters today. Like people were showing up when we needed them to, and there was some crazy rounds we had, but there was a lot more people playing together.
Love to hear that. So it's kind of still the team, the first couple weeks meshing, but going on forward, this is a bit more of the core that we should expect to see.
Yes, for sure. 100%.
I love that. I love that. And I want to talk about the gameplay that we've seen from you because even in a couple of these losses, we've gotten to see a lot coming out from you. You've been performing really well. But I want to focus specifically on this attack op that you had with the breach. We saw it yesterday. We saw it today. What's with this madness, man?
I think it's something people don't expect, and I don't think enough teams pull it out enough, honestly. I think the op is stupidly strong, just like some other guns that people don't use, but like it's easy. People are always constantly jiggling or jump spotting. You get a free kill, it just opens up the round. It makes a T side so much easier. Everyone is so scared once you pull out the gun.
I mean, it's working out well for you guys for sure. And it definitely had us talking on the analyst desk. We were a big fan of it. So last but not least, this core now that's meshing together more. We're still looking at the rest of this stage one. How are you thinking core is going to stack up against these other rosters?
With how we're playing so far, I think it's going to be either us on top or an even matchup.
Okay. Like the confidence. I mean, if you're playing how you did today and we keep seeing those improvements, I'm here for it. I believe it. Darkus, congrats on this win. Enjoy your night. Thank you so much for chatting.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So at core 2-0, and honestly, a core that's revitalized. Excited to see that going on forward. But we still have one match for today. A very highly anticipated TSM going up against Rankers, both undefeated teams. That's not going to last for long. Quick break, but stay tuned. You won't want to miss it.
One enemy remains.
Nailed it.
One enemy remaining. One enemy remaining.
No. Here. Okay.
Eyes down. My
Perfect.
One enemy remaining.
My eyes up.
enemy kill.
Welcome back, everyone, to Valorant Challengers North America. 2 undefeated teams here at the end of week 3, and one series away, one of them will remain. It's TSM going up against Rankers next, and Roy, this one is going to be really, really exciting. This is a different TSM that we've seen, a TSM there's a lot to be hyped up against the Rankers that continuously surprise and keep pushing on and keep showing us more.
Hey, this better be exciting. This is the first qualifying team. If people are not hyped for this, I don't know what to tell people. This should be a great matchup. We're seeing a TSM roster that has kept their 3 core from last year with a new coach. They're looking very solid. Obviously, there have been some question marks regarding the Vora pickup, regarding the Recoil pickup, but it seems like the newest kid on the block, Vora, he's picked up the IGL role. Along with the coach, they've sort of gotten the team on the same page, and they look revitalized. They look fresh. I'm liking what I'm seeing so far from them, and this is their opportunity. This is almost like the final boss of showings to prove that they are developing in the right way.
You've also got to give over like a nod to their coach, right? And NBS for the side of TSM. The fact that he has a lot of experience on his belt coming back over from that EMEA region of things where he had that success previously with Ascend, a team that had previously won like the championship back in 2021, right? So to be able to have that kind of experience backing you to integrate these new players into this roster, I think is probably something that lends a lot to their success. And I cannot wait to see more from them.
Especially too, these 2 new players. These were 2 players that hadn't played on a signed team before being with TSM, and it has been a learning curve, but one that you haven't necessarily gotten to see when you've looked at the server and how they've been playing. This TSM already from RIP, we're being able to show up. Vora being able to IGL for this team and the work that's being done with Coach BS is only getting better and better. And Sim said that they were the best team of challengers from the get-go. And Roy, they've only shown us more and more since then. And I'm starting to believe him.
Yeah, I think the key word here is easily. I think that is like the level of confidence from coming up from Sim is almost justified. I feel like they've looked very good despite all the hate. Obviously, there's been some questions like are they really that good? Rankers have questioned themselves. TSM, they seem to be displaying this high level of confidence, but ultimately this is the true test. If you can defeat rankers, it means you are matching them on a level of firepower. You're matching them on a strategic level, even though you're playing against a very unconventional playstyle. Like this will be a test on many different layers, and this is the opportunity for TSM to make their statement.
I mean, you're talking about that firepower and that core of TSM that we saw last year. That was something that was always praised for the team, but they had a lot of up and downs and everything else that was really for the squad. So the firepower has always been there with this core, and now being able to see it rounded out with the decisions that they're making, GMD being able to focus on his own game and having Vora's voice to really complement the squad. I think that this is a TSM that is worth getting excited for. And if you're not on board, if you're still getting flagged with like what was happening last year, you need to get that out of your head because this is a great TSM. But this is going to be a real test today because they have to go up against, I mean, you're saying TSM potential final boss. It kind of feels like rankers might be that at the end of it. They're unpredictable. They're just crazy shooters out in the server, and love them or hate them, rankers, you cannot deny, Ash, the potential with this team and what they've shown us so far.
No, they look so good. There's a reason why they're undefeated. Like, yes, everyone talks about how hard it can be to play up against their play style because of their confidence that they have as well, which always feels like it's, overflowing. But you also have to give the respect to the fact that they're able to thrive in that chaos that works so well for them that not all teams are able to do. Some teams fare a little bit better with that slow, controlled play, but rankers have proven that they're able to be kind of swifty with it, like very adaptive in these rounds. And that's what's leading to a lot of their success.
Especially too with this team, like when some people talk about rankers, it's okay, it's just these ranked demons, etc. But they're showing more and more layers to this team. Inspire talked about the strats that they're going through, the preparation, and maybe not so much a focus on the anti-stratting, but making sure that their own game is just on point and they can punish tendencies. And Roy, when you have that and like Poppin's IGLing and that experience that Inspire has, the other 3, they've just been able to shine so much. And yeah, extending a very real possibility. You got to get on board if you're not already.
I mean, it's so easy to be confident when your team is firing on all cylinders and they've not shown any signs of stopping. Like, okay, you perform well in 1 match, 2 matches. Okay, maybe, you can say it's a fluke, but you're performing extremely consistently to such a high level over your last, 15 matches, 16 matches. Like that's not luck at this point, right? Like they clearly have a read on the meta. They clearly have a read on how they want to play and how they want to approach the game. And it matches their style.
And I think it's so scary because you guys are talking about how, they're adding these layers on, right? But that just tells us that this isn't even the beginning of maybe where their ceiling is and like how high it actually can be if
Mhm.
they're just starting to implement more of that kind of macro play, because their micro individually and mechanically is so good as it is. They've been working the ebb and flow very well, but once you start adding those layers of strats, and even more depth, because it's just been the beginning of that for them. It's a terrifying prospect to look towards later on into this season.
I think that's such a good point because it's so easy to look at this team and think, oh, this team is they're very dumb. They play very dumb Valorant, and I'm seeing a lot of like public criticism of that on VLR and on the forums, and people saying that about them. But ultimately, they do have a very good macro read on this game. They understand the pressure they're applying. They understand how to push and pull and weaken parts of the maps, and that's where Kane Zera, the player with the highest win rate in terms of first opening duels, is shining because they're spreading their defenses thin. They're spreading players so thin. They're applying constant, relentless pressure, and it's just like melting people's brains. They don't really know how to play against that. But it's not dumb Valorant. It's actually very intelligent Valorant, but it's mixed with confidence.
You're talking about melting people's brains, and that was something that was also talked about yesterday. Was no team can really prepare for what Rankers has, and so as long as Rankers are in the server and they're warmed up before their opponent, they're just going to snowball the game, and the other team won't be able to catch up. So TSM, they definitely have their work cut out for them today, and I think where everyone's eyes are at has to be the duelist face off in this, because these have been two of the most exciting players to watch in Challengers so far. Sim from the get go, I think, has had the highest individual ACS in a match that we've seen. He's been cooking. This core team of TSM behind him has got him covered at all points, Ash. But Kane Zera, I mean, he is on a different level right now.
He is. And I love the fact that we're able to do this head to head as well, because you look towards Kane Zera and he has that high first kill per round. Sim is actually above him in that, but the trade off is that Sim also has one of the highest first deaths per round, as opposed to Kane Zera, who has a first death per round at around like 0.08, which is more synonymous with what you would see out of support players. And that just tells you the fact that he's able to have just so much success without having that trade-off of it being closer to like that 1-to-1 ratio on that give and take. And that survivability for him is so important there for rankers, because he's so consistent in opening up these rounds.
Yeah, and I want to bring to light the fact that Kane Zera is 37-11 on openers, guys. 37-11 on openers.
Jeez.
It's supposed to be close to 50-50, guys.
Yeah.
Right? And then but the interesting thing is that Sim is a lot more experienced because he's constantly taking those first engagements. Like, yeah, his success chance might not be higher, but he's so confident and so comfortable constantly taking those engagements. So I think the high level of, Kane Zera, how is he so successful at finding these opening fights, clashing with somebody that is completely comfortable taking those early engagements, and how that's going to pan out is going to be super interesting in this matchup.
It's been nice too, because how Rankers plays with this double duelist. I mean, Exer, he's not switching off the Yoru, but being able to have then Kane Zera, a lot of the ISO lately, and having that double aggression, it's been so nice because you get that map opened up, but you're also allowing Kane Zera to kind of do his thing. Whereas you're kind of like, you're popping off like both capabilities here, Ash. Whereas for TSM, it's just on Sim to really be opening the map in a lot of cases. And he's been doing a killer job of it. Don't get me wrong, but that's going to be something that I'm kind of keeping an eye on in the series.
I think that's a really good point. Just like the level of pressure being spread across two players as opposed to being on the shoulders of a singular player there. It definitely is a bit difficult, but I think that Roy hit the nail on the head on talking about Sim's experience. He's not going to let that pressure get to him. He has great support backing him from the rest of TSM as well. They're really good as far as being those second, third entries in to guarantee that those trades are coming through, even if he does get first blooded. So I just cannot wait to see how chaotic this head-to-head ends up being. Like, they're both the teams that managed to take down M80 earlier this week too. It's going to be a spicy one.
100%. And pulling up the map picks and bans, another thing that I'm so excited about with this matchup is Rankers have this aggression. The other team gets nervous. I don't think TSM, Roy, is going to be one to get nervous or back down, which is just makes that so much better. And in this series, Rankers Haven is going to be the first map of choice, and Haven's definitely looked really nice so far.
Yeah, I think Haven has been a pretty solid map for rankers. Obviously, they completely fits their style. They're able to really manipulate the Yoru and ISO. Everyone's roles are comfy. It makes complete sense. But now we're going into uncharted territory. We don't really know what to expect from TSM. So obviously, there's a layer of like mind games. Again, could it be a factor? Yes. Could it not be a factor? But when you're rankers, like you have to stick to your game plan, quote unquote. But you don't really know how TSM is going to approach it or what kind of meta they're going to be playing. So they're going to have to really find solutions in the moment.
I think the hard thing too is both these teams being undefeated right now. You can make the case for this map pool being strong for both of
Both
them
teams.
overall, but at the
Mhm.
same time, I think it does slightly favor rankers more just because of that double duelist comp that they're leaning into with the chaos that they're able to cause with Eggster on that Yoru. And that's not me taking anything away from the likes of TSM. That's just more speaking to the strengths for rankers because of the really wonky compositions that they like to run.
Like what we've gotten to see so far, like I'm definitely with you that the map pool kind of seems a little more that way, but I want to go to our predictions and what we thought ahead of any information that we got about this match in terms of that. And it's just Roy
Whoa.
odd one out.
Yo.
Everyone else is on the rankers train here. Okay, Roy.
Listen, there's no way there's almost a unanimous vote on rankers. There's no one believe in TSM here. We're all rankers fans. Listen, I love rankers, but come on, someone needs to have faith in TSM. They look like a solid team.
I'm not going to cap. It was really hard for me to choose between these two teams. Like, I feel like before yesterday, I probably would have just gone with TSM out of like through my gut, but they were so dominant up
Yeah.
against Qbert Academy that I was like, yo, Rankers is going to be running off of this
Valid.
high from yesterday's matchup. And I kind of had to put my money where my mouth is.
Okay.
I'm not
bet.
going to cap it. I think it was an easy rankers pick. Not to disrespect TSM, but 16 win streak. All right, they're about to make it
that's hard to deny.
17. All right, so.
Oh, okay. They need to hire you as their cheerleader. Damn, that's crazy.
All right. No. For real, we got a match we got to start getting into. We have our agent select. I think we can all agree here, regardless of who we think is taking the series, we're all winners if we get 3 maps between these two, because this has definitely been such a highly anticipated matchup, and I think so well matched up against each other. And heading into this map, Roy, I mean, this is going to be the double duelist going up against Sim on that Jet.
Yeah, I'm actually a little concerned because I feel like the Jet is such an op-heavy role on this map, and now you're going into ISO that has a shield that is able to constantly pressure you off angles on their attack side. I almost feel like it might, low-key, they might have just counterpicked themselves against the Rankers composition. I'm a little bit nervous here on this Haven side.
I love that shout because I feel like that's where rankers have found a lot of that success with that ISO pick is just teams not really being able to lock down those long sight lines, those some of those sites, because when they're pushing so quickly, normally you'd think, okay, op can just shut that right down. But we've seen how frequently Kainzera is able to find success because of that shield, giving that extra breath of life and allowing him to go for another engagement so quickly after finding that first fight. I'm kind of scared if I'm on the side of TSM, but we got to see how this goes.
TSM, what they've gotten to show and their improvement in everything, definitely trust that they got a plan. Let's see if it's enough going up against this Ranker squad. Is it time to head into Haven and head back over to our casters, fans, and Lemon?
Thanks so much, Sierra. Yes, we have the ultimate showdown. Rankers just struck down the Challengers favorites of Qbert Academy just yesterday. But can they also hand TSM their first series loss? It all depends if you can shoot back. We talked about the ISO shields, but Rankers, they're one of the best mechanical teams we have here.
That's the main story going into this one. Mechanical aimers coming out from the side of the defense to kick things off, but we're not going to discredit everything that Vora Recoil Sim has been doing for TSM as well. I also didn't mention Seven because he's almost like a veteran right now for this team, but he's also very cracked, and GMD is also very good. Right now, the gameplay with TSM coming out with this, I could only think about the amount of stall that they're trying to do with the Astra, with the Breach Stun, and with the Nanoswarms, so that you could hopefully get rid of that utility that's being overloaded on a side of Rankers when they go into this death ball, and then you could slow things down into pacing a bit and then leverage the group and the fundamentals to fight back like I know they can here for TSM. So it'll be a very interesting one here with TSM starting on the attack side, and they're already trying to find some information on top of B. But this is where you already have King Zero in the back here, 2 undercuts ready to nullify and take some players down with a combination of, I was going to say shock darts, but Poppin doesn't have that. He went for the drone instead so that he could try to re-clear. Or actually, I'm trying to see if he raid boss one of the players.
Maybe. I still can't believe Haven made it through the pick ban because this is Ranker's #1 map. And TSM, yeah, pretty much got a good end of their deal with Bind. Maybe Fracture would be their best map, but Rankers 13-3 against 13-7. Like, they just beat everybody down on this map, and it's a fantastic start off of First Blood from Inspire. But TSM will continue to flood in. They won't be able to find that pesky Cypher. It's all smoked off, but already just pressuring just early shots through the smoke in case Rankers were lurking around. TSM had the post plant set up. Here's Rankers now getting counter flashes
Player standing.
from Rankers and TSM, and it's just Bora left. Rankers, they're just an army.
Yeah, that's where I actually decided in between the maps and between the series to actually put my standing-ness down so I could sit down in gamer style and lead into the screen just to try to study and pay close attention to what Rankers are currently doing. But yeah, it's going to be very difficult to fight against this type of team. And you've already seen it if you've been watching Rankers in the past since the offseason, going to Split 3, going into now. They are unstoppable, mechanically very sound. But look at how they just are not afraid to push out too. It kind of looks like at the very beginning that they try to fight by themselves, but there's always going to be like a ping pong pendulum. If not for that one single player to drop 1 or 2 kills himself before he dies, you're just going to have to make sure that you're going to be the one that's going to be on point for today. Think about all these duels. It has to be very strong for TSM side when they have this roster.
Oh, the drone is going to spot Embers at the back of C. Nexter, First Blood yet again for Rankers. Off TSM, just trying to get early info. And even just, it weren't even in garage when they died. And it gets even worse.
Yeah. And that's the beauty as well of just having a Yoru in general mechanically on your roster. He could play in front of enemy lines. He could TP away. He could fast rotate as well. And he leveraged that, the Stinger to play against the pistols, easy kill, builds up his ult points. But while that happens, TSM are still trying to like default work around the map. So this gives free reign every single time like this to happen. Free kills coming out here from Iron. So you're going to have to think about trying to play against Rankers defense as well, is that you're going to have to try to have good ways of util to push them away from sites, but still have util to play the pulse plans. If not, Rankers will have a lot to play against you in the very first place.
Rankers can just keep their distance at this point. Like, the job is done. You've killed 3 before TSM even got into garage and into these power positions. And now you've corralled all the sheep in a corner. Rankers just make it look easy. And just to kind of reiterate what I said before, Rankers won 13-3 against Blue Otter, 13-7 against Burger Boys. So whatever you want to say about those teams, Rankers are demolishing people on this map. This is their #1 map, and it's the bread and butter of a ISO Yoru. And TSM may just have to play numbers. In these 1v1 duels, I would give the edge to Rankers, but can TSM find a way to make this team uncomfortable or to cause chaos that would stress Rankers?
Yeah, 16-0 so far as well, right? Since they joined Challengers, coming in here from, what was it, Premier even on top of that? So looking pretty good here on their side. And now with the gun round out for TSM, they are trying to find that information in the first place. I mean, I don't know if there's a timeout or something like that, because those bears are about to come up. And TSM are ready to look for control here towards A main. So there was still that breach and that Sova trying to find that early info at that spot. And there we go. So the bears are about to come out now. They'll have the fault line, and then they'll go for the recon on the top to see who's there.
Ooh. Kane has always been consistent.
Yeah.
Kane was huge. Also, we casted him during the Neon meta and how awesome that player is. But TSM can claim their first head and try to equalize and do something. Try to play the mind games too. They've inserted their lurk deep into C, and a huge pick for GMD opens things up. The spike still has to make its way over, so Rankers decide, do they play for retake or do they try to prevent the objective? And stepping on board, Exter didn't have his teammate. He was separate away from the smoke. Now TSM have done more than enough to win the round.
That's what you want, right? Little fundamentals to bait them out, because they are not afraid to swing through smokes to fight against you. So you just had 7 just tap the spike, and then 3 players are still watching out towards the spawn so they could guarantee trades. And like I said, it looked like it was going to be a nice little victory for King Zira in the very beginning, but the idea and the plan was there for TSM. They smoked towards that front. They smoked towards that front side so that Sim could go for the 1v1 duel of his own gulag in his own kill contract at long A. But unfortunately, King Zira got the best out of him. But the rest of it, the answer back from TSM to flood towards C and overpower the defense of Rankers with their own numbers for TSM side was a nice little answer towards the end.
And we haven't seen TSM play this map since the For Those Who Dare finals, I believe. And strong win, 13-7, but this was also with a slightly different lineup, but the same composition. So telling Recoil to do what Ziv did, go on the KJ, same comp with the Astra 2 and the Breach. So TSM just have to kind of remember the basics. And it's worked out for them too, to just try and out-race, out-rotate Rankers, to just already be on C with a successful lurk. And it's going to be a lot of eggs in the lurk basket to really open up alternatives for TSM if things don't go well on plan A.
Yeah. And back when you were mentioning For Those Who Dare, that was basically a core of like Kane Zira, Knights, Ions. Mocking somehow was playing in there, but that was the first time we saw like some good eye-openers of what the potential of these players could be. And it was actually an event that was won by TSM at this point. So they're not unfamiliar to play against Rankers playstyle, which is why it's not out of the it's not a crazy pick that Roy did to go for TSM because they know what to expect. So, and you've already seen the reaction here on their gun round versus the bonus against Rankers. Now we'll have to see how they fully execute into this full gun round from both teams.
Extra smoked off, but Rankers aren't afraid to shoot through the smoke and to get into immediate cover and hear how many guns shot back. Still key information from Rankers. TSM not afraid to ditch a scene as soon as they are discovered, and Rankers want to cut them off from those moments, but unfortunately Rankers got punished.
You just want one of those moments where maybe even the turret will break shields in terms of the chaotic moments as well for TSM, which is maybe why they're putting Recoil on this KJ. Still very good to find the aggressive B-side pushes, just like Kane Zero just tried to do. Could put the alarm bot back for a C-side push, but also could anchor up and listen for any type of rotates here from the garage side. But right now, it stays quiet. TSM are gambling on a 30-second hit to hit towards the A site, where there's actually 3 players from Rankers.
There's the fault line, TSM. Ooh, the paranoia doesn't connect from Rankers, so TSM will be unhindered. And there's the swing, the double man swing from Rankers. TSM haven't really been able to fully push the site. They're on their half, and they're just using the small window to plant. And here's Rankers duking it out, and it's just Vora with 5 HP. So TSM just thought their half of the zone would have been enough, but you really got to evict Rankers.
Yeah, it was still pretty good, though, from TSM side, where they went for the first wave of util. We talked about it. You want to have a little bit more waves coming through with what Rankers will try to retaliate with. So as they gave and showed their hands towards the A site, they still didn't fully execute towards A because they know there would be a paranoia coming out and then probably a swing coming through right after. So they stayed back outside of the smokes where players gonna try to wide swing against you. They had perfect trades until you unfortunately had a couple of whiffs, because you saw some players, just like Rico, had a backstab on 1 or 2 players and missed that first burst before he actually confirmed the kill and couldn't be ready to fight against Ions right after. So again, this is going to be a very good matchup that we're going to witness going into the series. But Rankers are doing a great job here, capitalizing on the small, non-warmed up TSM players for the series.
Exter's been spotted. He'll be able to teleport out. It's Recon. Not going to get shot because Sim is just solo. Maybe he gives the illusion that there's just one player there, and Rankers
take flight.
Have another drone. We'll have a drone to work with. And yeah, again, the jet is spotted, but there may be more around the corner. The Rankers are waiting.
The drone did see Vora, but the idea there was Sim trying to just fight the person that was going to be playing inside default. He knows that somebody's going to swing out. He was extra with the operator, but unfortunately, extra didn't swing out wide enough. And that, I mean, with no more dashes going into the A site, you need to start pulling the rotate away from the A site, because it looks like TSM wants to finish towards this A site in the very beginning. So the L drone comes out towards the window, but like our Rankers, nobody is moving. So they're in a great spot right now, especially with the smoke coming out towards Graffiti to anchor that spot. And TSM are just going to keep running the clock down with 10 seconds left every single time for the hit.
Yeah, TSM have to just keep pivoting, and
30
Exter's
seconds
teleport
left.
expired, and he didn't move an inch either. But this camera about to spot the rotation in 4K. TSM are close to some good ults, but just the entry slash down so fast. TSM didn't even get a dash, he didn't get nothing. TSM now are just flooding in, the smoke's behind them, and TSM about to get buried 6 feet under because the firing squad's already watching TSM crawl in. They're about to be put to bed for good, and GMD would hope to keep this weapon, and he's an opponent around the corner, and it's making me really nervous.
He'll be fine. Looks like Exter doesn't want to push forward in the end. But I think at this point, the smokes, or the stars rather, coming down from GMD towards that spawn was like an instant tell for Inspire. Again, the TSM seems that the game plan is that they're trying to play a little bit more passively so that Rankers could run into them. You know that Rankers like to go swing out in these moments, but Rankers also likes to change their own tempo going into these rounds. So they're the ones playing more reactive this time around because of Exter's op. And then once you start putting the stars up on the C site, easy. One-way cage out from Inspire, spot some legs, break some kneecaps, and then TSM can't get in and could break all of the Cypher util that was valuable for Rankers to anchor up here towards C.
TSM hope to force some close duels, but these smokes are now preventing them from even thinking about B. And who pushes there? Ion gets away with it. Kane finishes off what he started, and they want more and got a little greedy. TSM though staying stoic, trying to clap back.
Spike down mid.
And they know they have to almost box it out against Rankers, especially when Rankers have advantages. But coming from around back, what a play from GMD. They still have to go recover the spike, and that may be up to Recoil because GMD has the better weapon, and he's got to keep the space.
Was hurt by Inspire though. So Inspire does a very good job, got the full swing.
One enemy remaining. Thrifty.
Okay.
My bad, Lemon
TSM
Kiwi.
closed it out.
I thought it was going to be a moment here where they were going to play it a little bit more smart until Exter just swung out there trying to take down GMD. Simply just to say, because Inspire was still towards the A-Link, and he heard the full rotate from Recoil. Thunderfooting down towards Sewers, back towards the window. And since GMD got the backstab from Garage into the front B, you know where the rotates of the last two players of TSM will be, with the spike being down out in the open. And GMD just on point with how he shot and answered back here since his lurk, and out-frag the offer and allow here for TSM to get a thrifty.
Enemy remaining.
And TSM have done these pivots, they'll kind of check things out. If they get revealed, TSM will usually like to pivot. Rankers chase the last round, they hurt him in the end, and off the Cosmic Divide and the Hunter's Fury invested. TSM get a leg up on the site, but a kill contract, TSM will have to do it down a man. And with an Odin present on C, TSM have to play kind of hopscotch between this Cosmic Divide, got a dimensional drift from Exter to help establish back on the site, and a lockdown from Recoil that's dismantled by a defensive Hunter's Fury. So a lot of ults used this round, with Rankers trying to drop TSM out from long to check the spike. There's only one place they can be, and no one's peeked at Garage. You know the last two have to be long. Here's the flank from Poppin that's activating, and GMD has to pick his angle carefully. The diffuse will get halfway, and it's actually being stuck. GMD does kill the diffuser, and Poppin has to quickly race to get there in time.
Yeah, it's going to be fine towards the end, but a very nice try there by GMD. 0.5 seconds remaining. But I got to say, Recoil did such a good job like baiting out the Hunter's Fury to hit him. So I thought the beams weren't going to hit the lockdown that he placed out of that spot. If that was the case, that would have delayed so much more. Yes, he would have still sacrificed his life from Exter coming out of the ult. And maybe that's why if it was missed out, Exter would have gone out, got the kill, and maybe broke the lockdown no matter what. But you're also trying to make sure here that you're not getting the best value out of the Hunter's Fury on the defensive side. But then Poppin is able to get the kill with it and break the lockdown and just allow here Exter to focus on different parts in his responsibility for the retake under dimensional drift. But this was still a nice try by GMD on the 1 versus 2. This is to see what has happened so far in the very beginning. It's been chaotic, but it's been very good in terms of these trades happening from both teams.
One adjustment that I noticed from TSM is that from their previous iteration of their roster, Seven was the one who played Sova, and now Seven's now playing the Breach. Vora's going to pick up that Sova duty. So clearly TSM are very practiced with this new roster. They more than believe in these two pickups because they are undefeated, but Rankers are a different beast, and only up by a couple rounds, and this is for playoffs. And I have no doubt that TSM can get playoffs, but it's actually how TSM do in these playoff and ascension type scenarios that I hope to see them maintain that good performance there too.
Yeah. And if you're looking from a scoreboard Steven way of the ascension of playoffs last year, you may think that they didn't have the best ascension run, but they made some teams run for their money or like really fight for the victory in their group stages in order to knock TSM out of groups. Not seen in playoffs.
Oh, Sim! Got the pop-off Sim yet again. And to be able to dodge the Yoru flash, or at least attempt to, Sim does get crunched in the end, and Ranker's defense.
Dude.
Off of an Odin ISO, like, what am I witnessing?
That is so funny. It's still a great entry that came out from Simdo. All this was to sell a fake so they could plan towards the C site. So there is a Thrifty coming out from TSM. There's a possibility for a second Thrifty because Exter is only at 8 HP and there's no double tap at this point. It should have expired by now.
Step from Garage. TSM have recoil watching it. Valvora looks at the back site. Will be able to drone too. Kane doesn't care if he's spotted. If anything, that'll kind of accelerate the duel that Kane wants to take. And he just gets a one-tap by recoil with the Sheriff. And it's Exter with 8 HP. So he's going to have to maybe keep this weapon.
Yeah, he's definitely going to have to. The money's in shambles right now for Rankers, so they need this rifle and potentially going to a half buy, knowing how aggressive they could be. But recoil so far in these Thrifties have been saving these rounds for TSM. It came down to a 1v1 earlier on when they planned it towards the B site, and this time leveraging his alarm bot, his turret, and also his own Sheriff to get a 2K into Garage and also into back spawn. Not afraid at all of the solo swing Kane 0 Odin, but that was such a good push coming out here from the side of TSM to kick things off.
I just don't know how much of a troll this Odin in being carried by the ISO is. It's like, when are they going to be done playing with their food and just buy an op or something?
Well, speaking of op, it's an attack side op for Sim. Trying to leverage the push here towards the front and regen shields out for Kane 0 that gets slightly damaged. So there is still the hero rifle that they saved from the previous round, and they want to keep it into Kane 0's hands because you know how impressive he's been so far since this split of challengers in 2025. But that's going to push him away for a bit.
Oh, random pick, but there's someone else around the corner. Bora's going to drone up. Never be too sure against Rankers. They do like to play in pairs. And TSM do a job of re-clearing Garage, and Rankers take back control of that site. And this is, again, the TSM pivot of making noise on one side and trying a different site, and Poppin does what he does best and escapes into the shadows.
Big mistake here. Poppin could probably capitalize on a couple more share shots.
And the shock dart is going to cause some damage to TSM walking in, but TSM were locked in on the people in heaven.
30 seconds
And
left.
GMD susses out the flank.
Laser beam.
Does inspire, but this was a save from Rankers anyway, but to take down 2 weapons is always nice.
My camera is destroyed.
See what Inspire can do. The high-low setup. Easy peasy for TSM. They keep themselves within 1.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a small fumble here with Sim walking with his knife out the whole time, not expecting somebody to push so aggressively in that corner where they should have, because Rankers have been doing that a lot. But still, it was all thanks to Vora's calls once again. The Owl drone to look back into the C. He heard the TP from the Omen going back on top of the C site. They've always played against a Cypher on the C site with no changes in 9 rounds of his setup. So they're like, well, let's just try to hit towards the A site. There's most likely not going to be a Cypher there, and we should most likely have like a 4v1 at that spot. So a great call. Before this round, as I just mentioned, the non-switches of the Cypher util, Inspire is doing it now.
TSM, no one's really pushed A short. You know, that doesn't mean it'll never happen. So you kind of have to watch both if you're Sim, and then he took a shock bolt. But Rankers don't really peek too much. They'll insert Exter around the orb and then teleport him out, which he's planning on doing any second now. This is first and second blood from Rankers as soon as TSM walk up. Now what do you do with this garage control? Is C still the plan? The smoke on the back window has dissipated and recoil still gets one, and Kane gonna maybe swung off of this.
Yeah, but Extra just TP'd away, and they think that the site's gonna be open, so they're gonna rotate back towards the A site with the last 2 players, but it's all of Inspire's utility that's gonna stop them.
Oh, there's trips all over. Whoa. Just like a bird. Inspire playing duck hunt out here. And it's just tough to play an offense
30
into
seconds
Rankers who win a lot of these range duels. And now the pivots are being read a lot better. Like TSM went from A, then to C, and then got double kills. So TSM are a little bit cooked in terms of numbers.
Yeah, and it all started off Kane Zero just not being afraid of that smoke and disrespecting it. Jumping outside of that, getting a pick
10
and
seconds
going
left.
back into the abyss, and he was never spotted, and you see it from the end of the round. Never received any point of damage towards the end once he got that pick into the doorway. And he just gets the timing from the owl drone that was trying to be cleared by Vora. And in the first place, it was basically a sim insert on the A side, and then if you do get all these kills towards C, you could continue to hit towards C, and then sim fights the 1v1 on that side. But if sim gets this pick onto Extra on that end, then everybody can rotate back just like they did in this 4 versus 2. But with lesser numbers and how Inspire was playing towards the C site, it was unaccounted for here and not expected for TSM, and Rankers are able to fight back and answer back in round number 10.
And Rankers are catching them on the escape and on the entry. Then what is left? TSM. A 2-3 split. Now just trying to have their heads up for any kind of C challenge, because that's how TSM got 2-piece last time. So they really got to be locked in on a duel that can happen at any second. Hopefully without, with less util at C, because it's usually just been that Cypher. You got a lurk from Recoil. Hearing something over at A, but Rolling Thunder just to get the site there for free with the Aftershock. Site split in half from Cages. Is TSM gonna start to spam? And no way Inspire gets away with the 2 Cages pushing logs. All depends. Kane, though, gets traded. So TSM, it's all up to Recoil, though.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Just out in the open towards the end when he comes out of the blue log, and that's just unfortunate. But he's hitting shots again.
TSM. Team solo mid. Solo plays. And there's Inspire, who took 2, I felt like, for free, and with the op will get to keep it. Jeez. I thought TSM had a really good setup.
They did, and we just talked about the disrespect that you have for players, though, that they don't care about the util that's being thrown out. So as you're unloading your first wave, and it's like, okay, well, there's my small timing to be able to push through the smoke, where everybody's probably trying to get that second flash in the back of the site, trying to push through the smokes, and then boom, he just swings out and gets these kills. And that's off support too, coming from the kill contract. So it looked like he was kind of swinging it alone, but it was going to guarantee at least a 1v1 towards that spot no matter what. So last round of the half, Rankers still looking very strong on their aggression here on the defense, and TSM reverting back to a C-side hit. And they have an opportunity here because they could avoid popping. They could use this lockdown just at the corner of the garage and start entering towards the C-site.
Oh, a lockdown around garage. It's going to be a real struggle for Rankers to get out of, and they're trying to find all these corners of the map to get away. And does Kane get out? No, he's detained, and maybe this is to be used as bait as TSM is on the chase to capitalize on that player. Not like the TSM just didn't hesitate this time when they had the half, they wanted the other. Rankers now undetained. It's the Odin opening things up, the Hunter's Fury to line up all the pins for Kane Zero to take down. Nothing. The plant still trying to go through. Kane
planted.
being as quiet as he can. Trying to swing off the right side, but Sim should be able to catch him. Not before Kane takes one with him. 3 versus 2 on the post plant. Good chance for TSM to go 8 and 4. Oh, what a swing from Ion. And the pivots, the side dances, and TSM crumple under the pressure. It's Vora in a 1v2 with not the help.
Enemy remaining.
But hey, a lucky shot to remember not looking. And now the jig is up. And it's going to be about the delay. If you can get the spike to explode, diffuse halfway, job's going to be easier for Poppin. He has a shock bolt and just spots the arm from Vora. It's a 8-4 half for Rankers.
Everything was so clean to start things off here for TSM. The first place where you place the lockdown into a garage was actually on the ramp of that C garage so that they don't get it spammed by the Odin of Kane. That was perfect. And then you engage and force the Cypher of Inspire to play towards the back of the platform. You kill it with util, and then you overtake these sites perfectly. But then this moment right here, a little bit overzealous towards the end. You gave up your 2v2 crossfire setup to have 2 individual 1v1s where you're supposed to be delaying as much as you could so that Vora could rotate back right over towards their grass into garage and then finalize the last kill if it has to come down to that. But you see that he's stuck in a moment right here at 25 HP. So difficult to do. So a little bit of a small mistake here that ends up and could end up being very costly for TSM as Rankers are in the lead by 4 and they're looking at a death ball here towards the A site.
They'll have their lurk of the Sova watching over. If this TSM overcommit on mid continues through, and it does surprise Poppin. First blood for the defense, and Rankers, it doesn't even bother them, but they are flashed. That is going to bother them. TSM don't even get the kills from, I thought, what was a good flash play in either way. Rankers have done more than enough to win this round as Vora in a 1v4.
Yeah, Spike planted as well. I mean, another one of those moments where you could have waited for your teammate right after so you can double swing against Kane. Give him 2 individual 1v1s. He's snowballing off the double taps. That is just an easy piss around towards the end. The execution is still pretty good though. They went for the TP flash and then a swing from both extremities just to not give a chance here for, I think that was Recoil trying to anchor up towards the A side to get anything done. So I like that at least from the get-go, but just trying to play the retake towards the end was unfortunately not the cleanest here.
And historically, Rankers have had really good offenses with this comp, and it's going to be even better when they had a defensive 8-4 start. TSM got to start catching up, but unfortunately this buy is not going to be it. Just pistols across the board, but it's all about the long game and for some timeouts once those guns do get bought. Now, heavy stack on the left side with turret checking over garage and Aura hide and seek, but also listening in. That's what's important.
If they wall contact sewers or just do anything here towards sewers, this should be Vora not be able to get too much. Now he has no choice but to body peek, and he's gonna look right into Inspire soon.
But this could be a chance to steal away a rifle if Vora wins this. So just unfortunate timing. One down for TSM. And Sim's going crazy on the flank. There's trips all over and stuff for him to deal with. It's like Rankers expected it. I think TSM just want to go down with the ship at this point.
It's definitely the smarter play. You already saw Kane Zero pushing out towards the spawn. He's trying to get his kill contract up as soon as possible, and all of them now staying back.
Shadows traveling.
You probably do think that there's still going to be an attempt here for Rankers to push back towards the spawn despite the spike about to blow up. Worst comes to worst, they get an orb out of Sim because he's going to be outside of the blast. Just a very standard anti-eco coming out here from Rankers. He tried to gamble the stack for TSM on the C site. Unfortunately, it wasn't the good read, and then it's just an easy plant there for Rankers.
Hey, good info. They have an Ares. They have a lot of weapons that they'll intend to keep. And TSM, you call a timeout at this point. Maybe at the that ends up being a full buy. I'm worried about TSM just not putting a scratch into the second half yet, but we'll see what this gun round can hold, and then maybe visit a timeout. See how they can salvage this game.
Yeah, and so far it's just trying to take control of this A side. The fault line, and this is all very standard stuff that you currently see, but I like the trip coming out here from Inspire. There's no shot darts coming through. This is still a very good spot to get information on anybody trying to push up for aggressive control into the A choke.
Oh, the traps are set by TSM. It's just about Rankers to trip them up, but Rankers delaying this. Want to see if maybe our TSM just going to peek? Are they going to let this go for free? Surely not. And Sim, you tell that he feels like he has to wait on his shoulders to make the big hero play it off the ice. So Shield leading the way for Kane. It's Recoil that tries to hold the wall. Equalizes the numbers. And Rankers have control of C, but extra unfortunate, uncharacteristic miss for him. Leaves the spike down. And for TSM, a chance on their first gun round of the half to do well. Uh-oh. I thought I spoke that too soon. Gotta let them finish off the round.
Yeah, you keep forgetting it's Rankers here, Lemon Kiwi.
Yeah,
so they can always win at that point. But nonetheless, that was some clean shots coming up from Recoil. The third burst kind of missed a bit, but for him to play the hero play to get the double, it was super important for TSM. You know that the game plan for them is that it's going to be a very scrappy game. And the fact that Kane Zero is able to just shield up and jump in and be that solo player to do the fundamental of, hey, let me jump through a smoke, swing off me. I'll just do that myself. Make sure that he sprays it and breaks my shield, and you guys swing after that again with me, and we'll guarantee at least that kill into the garage. And he does that by himself. But again, thankfully, Recoil was there for that double kill towards the end. Now, at the same time, a trip.
My wife.
Oh, the trip in the cage and leaving kind of purposeful gaps potentially.
Yeah.
Where Sim walked in and did get pushed back.
Sim
So
didn't
that
care. He just made the audio cue of like, I'm going into your smoke, I'm going to break your trip, and I'm still going to try to fight you. So they have the same type of mentality in these early rounds to just fight against each other.
To beat the Rankers, you must become a ranker. It is the Sim mindset, hoping to adopt, but Rankers approaching B and still all 5 of TSM. It's a little scary, but you always have the ISO shield. You got flashes from Yoru. No one's saying hello from TSM, at least not yet. And off the back site, 7 will get the first blood. We'll get the ball rolling. The kill contract lost against 7. And TSM have managed to make this a real fight for B. The spike didn't manage to get planted, so advantage still for Rankers.
Oh, no, it's fine.
But it's just trade for trade for trade. Spike is tapped, Inspire, locks in. It's beautiful shots. The post plant, still 2. And Bora wiped away as Rankers get up to 11.
It was such a nice try by 7-2. He got the first pick of the player trying to swing towards that back, and then he even wins the fight inside the kill contract. Sim was trying to move up and save his teammate, and I think it was also Vora that had a shock dart on a vulnerable on one player, but just missed. And then suddenly 7 comes out of the gulag and gets instantly picked off, and he didn't have enough numbers in the back of the site to just roll back towards the front. Ranker is able to scrap out the remaining moments here of this fight to just capitalize on the victory right here. That could have been a shot that should have been won by GMD in the first place. But his small little whiff, he still loses that fight.
Let him cook. Oh, he won't be cooking. The pan will stay cold. Exter is too clean with it, but TSM at Sheriff, so you just throw something at the wall and see what sticks. If you're TSM, it's unfortunate that they just can't scrounge up enough rounds to at least have good buys to give themselves a chance. It's already tough. I mean, last round was the closest chance for TSM, and unfortunately will cost them. It's a 1v4 for 7. Awaits him, and wait a minute, and now it's done. 12 to 5.
Unlucky here that the drone came out and I actually got the ping, because those kills were actually really nice here from 7. So we're seeing still some good fight coming out from the young roster of TSM as well. There is definitely young players in on the side of Rankers, but overall, this was, as you mentioned, Lemon Kiwi, a lower buy that you had for TSM. Vora got a kill, got a 145 on the second one. That could have been a lot cleaner. Well, not cleaner, but unlucky pretty much at that point, because that could have been 2 huge kills in the very first place. And maybe it could have turned the tides here towards the later round on C.
Who's next?
But now, Easy execution coming out, trying to potentially once again leverage Hunter's Fury. If you find some information with the dimensional drift inside C, he sees it right now towards the C link. Boy, they're fighting for TSM. They want to go for it.
What was that from Hexter? At TSM, they tried to go for like a Rolling Thunder trap play off B, and Rankers did not have any lurks, did not care about mid at all. They just stormed the trenches of C. It's a 3 versus 2 to close out game 1 with Vandals against not too much from TSM in terms of util, in terms of manpower, but shock bolts can't be used from Vora to prevent the plant. As Recoil tries to take point on Garage, and they're going to play split, but a huge win for Recoil. Makes this possible, makes this even. As Poppin wants to see the action coming. And Vora's going to be front and center. Shock bolts will get Vora out of the corner. And that's a win. 1v2 for Ion. Just as the play around smokes, play back. Diffuse halfway for TSM. Ion critical body shot into him, and he just can't finish off the diffuser. So TSM buy themselves another round.
Dude, what was that? Like a 2v4 for TSM that was salvaged here by Vora and Recoil. That was actually huge. In the very first place, like under the pressure to see rookies like Recoil and Vora says to say, hey, let Recoil have the Phantom. I have to drone into the site, so use the Phantom to enter. He aggro and confidently wins the duel against Kane Zero inside Garage. And then they have perfect util and synergy to fight back and retake the C site in the front. That was so nice here from TSM, which is why, again, they have a lot of potential for this team, and they're definitely a strong contender. I wouldn't be surprised here if they go into the playoffs. If it's not today, it's definitely going to be later on. But I will not be surprised if they do a deep run once again here in the playoffs.
And Vora and Recoil have definitely proven themselves and have been huge additions to this TSM roster. But this is a style of Valorant that, well, Roy talked more about it on the desk, but a style of Valorant that is difficult to prepare against and difficult to execute against. You can plan all you want, but it's execution
Cage triggered.
that needs to beat Rankers.
GL Valorant.
And maybe avoiding Haven. Yeah.
On a rainy day in the courtyard of the jail, just like, who's gonna come out on top every time? And there you go. Those are the things. A turret just broke the shield. That's huge right now for TSM.
Out of the site for Rankers. The clone gets to the back. TSM won't be dissuaded. GMD with first blood. Vision on long C, and 7 stops any garage push. So great map control awareness from TSM. And it's just this your left. TSM with back-to-back rounds kind of are starting to get their economy back in shape.
Yep. And not for Rankers. There's potentially here maybe some sort of here rifle if Poppin wants to do it and give it to Kane Zero so they could do very similar things like they did last time. But this is the first time out coming out here. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, they actually do have a coach helping them out here for Rankers. And it's Stunna. Not the CSGO manager Stunna, but a Stunner that actually assistant coach back in the T1 days and also helped out in T1 over in Korea before he unfortunately got let go here towards the end of the season, and now has an opportunity to show his worth as well for an unsigned team, and hoping as a group here that they can get picked up by somebody like, I know Inspire tweeted out Envy before, so Envy, if you're listening, I mean, look how good these guys look.
I'd love to see an Envy banner and Challengers for sure. Although Rankers have a red logo, so boys in blue would have to change it up. But
True.
I love the shotgun play. That was so fun. The dimensional drifts, and even had the clones sent forward. Rankers, though, they're just one away. They could stack all their ults if they want. They may not even need that. So it'll be sheriffs across the board, it seems. And a lockdown. I'm interested to see how Recoil is going to use that.
Yeah, it seems to be just the type of play to play to retake. I still like the setup though from TSM because you have an eco from your opponents. Most of the times people will try to finish up towards B. So you have Alarm Bot and double Nano Swarm just to try to get him off the spike, and you can try to delay even more so the players anchoring towards A can start rotating back. But Rankers are just looking for a full hit towards A.
Outline. And at the cross is Sim. Ready to execute. Free firing. Maybe just scare 7 back. Waits for the call. And Sim at the top drops down, takes care of Ace short.
Player standing.
And
Spike
really just tries to
down
roll
A.
through rankers. And it's so successful. I mean, they had sheriffs anyway. But a clean round from TSM nonetheless, just off of protocols.
Yeah, the silver lining at least is that Ion's kind of broke Sim's ankles.
Yeah.
Because he went for the fake TP through the aftershock, and Sim went to look towards that right, and Ion still got that kill. Of course, it's still netted towards the trade, but it's a type of nonchalant type of plays coming out from players like Rankers that kind of just irks you a little bit and grinds in the long run when they're doing these crazy plays that they shouldn't do, and they could still get away with it. Nonetheless, it's still around for TSM, capitalizing 3 in a row. And now putting Rankers finally back into a bye, but not the best. You see a lot of half shields for 3 of the players. Sim can do a lot of damage here with this op, even if he had an outlaw.
He's looking for the opening.
No.
And whips it. And even brought out the ult. Sim crumbles under the pressure. And then the Odin and everyone laughing away from Rankers to hose down the site. An absolute dumpster fire at the end. TSM had a streak going, and this could be where it stops, but it is still 3v4. Who expects an Odin to still be there? Kane is insane, and the lockdown just didn't give TSM the security they needed. And to end off this match, GMD is gonna go down kicking and screaming before the kumbaya on his corpse. 13-8 from Rankers on Haven on their best map. Continue the win streak.
There's classic things from Rankers, finishing a map yesterday with an annihilation from Deadlock on Bind, now finishing this one here with a kill contract with GMD coming out getting backstabbed by 2 players, just waiting for him to spawn. But that small miss ended up being so costly for TSM when Sim missed that op shot. But it's so hard to do here when there's so much big pressure coming out from a team like Rankers. And yeah, they tried to pick into it here, 11 Kiwi, and just... You know that Rankers were comfortable on this map. TSM had a game plan. It looked pretty good. But again, it comes down to who's going to shoot better that day. And the consistency around shooting for Rankers is looking to be always better every single day.
And the desk talked about the impact that this ISO shield was going to have to lead them on offense. They had a strong 8-4 half on their defense. The Haven is the best Rankers map. But I mean, it's hard to pick what their weaknesses are. And... yeah, a lot of pressure on Sim to go absolutely huge for that team. But there's still another map that they could try to pull through, and it's TSM's best one, unless you count Fracture. And it's Bind coming up, TSM's choice. But we'll hear from the desk first, and we'll see you after.
I think the biggest factor that makes our team different is every single player on our team just has passion. We're all playing the game every single day. We're not playing TFT, we're not playing League of Legends, we're only playing Valorant, putting all our time into the one game. And it's like what I brought up earlier for my my wisdom of the year is the more time you put in, the more it will yield. Even if you don't feel it, even if it's like you're playing bad, putting in time matters. Like, and not many people just like grind rank. Not many people just put as many hours in the game as us, and I think that's what gives us an edge. No, it didn't really change anything. They're both very similar players, and that's kind of what we were looking for in our 5th player, is a player that kind of just fills Knights' role, which is just a player that can shoot, a player, like I said, that has passion, and that has chemistry with us. We all have played with Ion before in ranked, or most of us at least, and he just filled the spot perfectly. Maybe a little bit. I think that going in the last time, it was like, we have nothing to lose. We're all just like a random team, we got together, like a pug team, right? And if you lose with that team, it's like, whatever, who cares? We were randomly thrown together. But now that we've won something, I think there is a little bit more pressure on us to keep up like the good results. But I don't think it's anything that will stop us. What can we expect? I mean, absolute domination.
One enemy remaining. One enemy remaining.
Concentrate soft. Foolish. Quit.
One enemy remaining.